If you think having the most kills on the team actually makes you the best player on the team, you're absolutely wrong. I'm Mystically19 and today we're going over the big question, do kills actually matter in Brawl Stars? The shorter answer is, not as much as you think. And in this video, we're going to go over the 3 big aspects that actually determine if kills matter or not in the everyday match that you're playing. Now before I share these 3 tips with you, please remember that completing the objective is always more important than actually getting kills in the match. Yes, it is possible to win the game without getting any kills, and you should be completing the objective, but overall you should also be getting kills. Now for our first aspect, we are going to go over the type of brawler you are playing. If you don't know, there are many different types of brawlers in this game. Whether it's a tank, damage dealer, marksman, sharpshooter, support, all of these play a role, and whether or not these matter in the game you are about to play. Now believe it or not, there are some brawlers and scenarios where it's actually okay to have less kills than deaths, and I will explain why later in the video. But to start off, marksmen, assassins, and damage dealers should in general be getting more kills than deaths and being the overall fragger on the team. That's because these brawlers are generally the brawlers that are getting the kills on the team because they do such high damage. These brawlers aren't actually meant to complete the objective themselves, but rather make way for the other people on your team who can actually complete the objective more efficiently than them. So really they are just trying to keep the enemies at range and control the area by killing the other team. If they are not playing their role and instead just getting minimal kills and a crap ton of deaths, then they are not holding the other team back and your team can't complete the objective as easily. Overall, kills do matter a ton for these categories, so if you are playing a brawler in one of these categories, you should be getting a decent amount of kills. Now moving on to our next category, which is supports. Supports are unique because they don't actually need a ton of kills. In fact, this is one of the rare scenarios where it's actually okay for them to have more deaths than kills, and I will explain why in a second. So supports are obviously built to do less damage than most other brawlers in the game, and that is because their main job is to help their team stay alive. Instead of breaking down the other team, their job is to benefit their own team. And they can do this in so many ways, but the 2 main ways they do this is either placing something on the ground that benefits the whole team or just healing the team in general. So at the end of the game, if their healing is significantly more than their damage, this is actually a good thing. Now listen to me when I say that they can have more deaths than kills. This does not mean that they should be going like 2 and 10 every single game. I'm saying it's okay for them to be going like 1 and 2 or 5 and 6, where it's just a slightly more amount of deaths than kills, but overall they should not really be dying either, because if they're just kind of playing as an anchor for your team while the other 2 brawlers are playing up, then really they should be taking the damage and you should really just be supporting them. So if you guys are playing in a good shape, then you will not die a lot if you're playing support. As long as you're also focusing on the objective of the game mode, whereas in here I'm just holding area, then kills won't matter as much because you guys will just overall be dominating the other team because you're just healing. Moving on to our next brawler category, we have controllers. Controllers should be getting a decent amount of kills, but overall not dying. They are called controllers for a reason, and that reason is to not die and hold area or create more area for your team. Your goal as the controller on the team is to ward off the other team and pick up a few kills on the way. Along with this, you should not be having more than 3 deaths in a match. Controllers are usually played in Brawl Ball, Gem Grab, and Hot Zone, so you should really just be holding area and making new area for your team and pushing the other team back. If you're doing these successfully without really dying, then you will be perfectly fine. You also need to know your matchups and not get outranged so you're able to hold area and hold off the other team without getting outranged. Controllers should be going positive every round and picking up definitely a few kills. Now in our second to last category, we have tanks. Tanks can also be considered fraggers just because they have so much health and it's really easy for them to pick up kills. But overall, tanks should be taking that damage for the team, but not dying. Tanks cannot die because they are tanking all of the damage for your team so that way they can complete the objective fast. Tanks should be taking that damage and trying to play a little bit more aggressive to pick off a few kills. If you are playing in an upside down triangle, then tanks would be closer to the top, which means they should be getting some kills throughout the match. Most tanks should have a minimal amount of deaths and probably the least amount of deaths on the team. They are the ones who really should be picking up some kills and getting a decent to high amount of kills in the match. Tanks are one of the rare scenarios where you actually should be playing aggressive just to push back the other team, because you can really just soak up that damage and take the damage for your team so they can push up. Now, coming into our last category, we have throwers. Throwers actually don't have to get a lot of kills, but they definitely should not be getting deaths either. This is because if you are playing a thrower, you should be keeping a wall between you and your opponent, and also just really be poking at the other team, but not picking off too many kills. Now, obviously, it's okay to get kills, but since they do such low damage because they have that wall advantage, they're really just trying to poke and deal some damage to the enemy so that way their teammates can finish them off. Some throwers, like Grom and Tick, can also hold area pretty well too, so they can be played as a controller, and then the same rules apply to them as to a controller. Now, before we move on to if kills matter in different game modes, I'd really appreciate if you like and subscribe. It really means a lot, and I'm almost at 3,000 subscribers. Plus, you could have the chance to win a giveaway in the future, or find some awesome people in my Discord. Now, believe it or not, different game modes require different amounts of kills, and I'll explain why. Obviously, different game modes have different objectives, which is why they are different game modes in the first place. So they're going to require a different amount of kills, deaths, and healing, and I'm going to go over each game mode and what they require. Now, for our first game mode, we have Gem Grab. In Gem Grab, unless you are carrying 50% of the gems on the map currently or more, then you should be getting a decent amount of kills. So for example, if it was early game and there's only 5 gems on the map, and you have 3 of them, you shouldn't be dying, but you also shouldn't be playing aggressive to get some kills. Now, this doesn't mean just sit back and camp. This just means keep range between you and your enemies and don't just rush them the whole time. You need to keep 50% of the gems on the map or more, especially if one person is carrying them, which they should be, so the other people can play a little bit more aggressive. So yes, you should be getting kills, especially if the other team does have gems as well, because you should be rushing them and trying to get those kills off of them. Just play smart, don't play super aggressive, and the kills will just come to you. Now for Brawl Ball, this is one of the game modes that requires the most amount of IQ to pull off the objective consistently, just because it's super hard to push the whole way up a map and then shoot a ball into a select goal. So here, you really want to keep the structure of your team and not be dying. Now that being said, a team wipe is amazing, but we all know that that doesn't happen very often in Brawl Ball, so you want to be picking off 1 to 2 kills every now and then, just to keep their team at a disadvantage and slowly push up the map. Passing definitely matters in this game mode, so deaths definitely matter more than kills, and you should be having less deaths. But yes, kills definitely matter a decent amount in this game mode, just so you can get some free area control without having to use a super or controller that can do that for you. And then you just slowly push up the map, get a few more kills because you have them stuck back in spawn, and then the goals will just come right to you, and so will the kills. You should be going positive every single time you're playing Brawl Ball, and if you're not, you are really playing a disadvantage to your team. Now for our next game mode, we have Bounty. If you think kills matter the most in Bounty, you are wrong. Deaths actually matter the most in Bounty. You need to be having a good structure with your team and getting the minimal amount of deaths, and the kills will come to you. The last thing you should be doing in Bounty is playing aggressive. This will just end up in you dying because the other team will find a way to just all team up on you because you're pushed up by yourself. Also, you shouldn't even really be pushing up with your team anyway. You should just be keeping range and picking off a few kills whenever someone on their team plays aggressive. At the same time, you should always be going positive in Bounty, and if you are not, if it's like way negative, then you should not be playing Bounty anymore. Just relax, calm down, play the game, don't play aggressive, and you will be fine. For our next game mode, we have a similar game mode, which is Knockout. I'm not including Wipeout because it's basically the same as Bounty. So for Knockout, kills and deaths matter the equal amount, and this is obviously a game mode where kills matter a ton, so I would say this is probably also the game mode that kills matter the most. But more importantly, your KD in a Knockout match is more important than just kills alone, and a KD is kills divided by deaths if you don't know. And here is kind of an ego booster because if you have a better KD than anyone else on your team, then you can brag about it a little bit. Our second to last game mode is Heist. For Heist, your kills kind of matter, but this can be overridden by how well you complete the objective. For example, if you do a ton of damage to the safe but you go 0-2, it still makes up for it as long as you win. But really, your death count should also be low, and your kills should be pretty decently high. Most of the time in Heist, you're playing a damage dealer or a thrower anyway, so you should already be getting a decent amount of kills because of your high DPS. Remember, always focus on completing the objective before you try to worry about kills or anything else. They will come naturally as long as you are trying to complete the objective safely and without dying. For our last game mode, we have Hot Zone. If you made it this far, make sure you comment your favorite game mode to play, because I truly want to know what you guys like the most and what the community of Brawl Stars likes the most. For Hot Zone, make sure you are staying in the zone without dying. Kills are pretty important in this game mode because really it's going to come down to you or the other person, because both of you are trying to really kill each other here, because this is like a king of the hill game mode where only one team can be in the safe really at a time, and there will never be more than 10 seconds where both teams are in the safe at the same time. So here you definitely want to have a lot more kills than deaths, because this proves that you are in the zone for an extended period of time without dying, and you are getting kills along the way with it, which just shows that you are really helping your team. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.